So I talked about this subject like 2 years ago on my original King video that's no longer available, but I don't talk about it in my new King video, which you can watch here. So I wanted to have kind of like a standalone video just talking about this subject because I think it's kind of cool. So yeah, pretty much Saitama is just King's stand. And yeah, let me explain what this exactly means. So the term stand is coming from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. A stand is an entity physically generated by its owner. It generally presents itself as a figure hovering over or near the user and possesses abilities beyond that of an ordinary human, which depending on the stand user can be wielded for good or evil. So yeah, I'm sure even the casual One Punch Man fans have noticed by now that Saitama is almost always around King, especially like in moments of danger. Now, not with every fight, of course, like usually demons and over, because demons and under, King can usually just defeat just by, I guess, existing. But going further, stands are defined as personifications of life energy, whose abilities are given visual form. So that's another cool little fact and comparison that we can make here, because obviously there is this duality between King and Saitama within the series. Like King's moniker is the strongest man on earth, so more or less everyone sees him as the strongest. But we, the audience, know that King is not like physically strong, and that's where Saitama comes in because he actually is the strongest. In fact, King is only seen as being so strong because of Saitama. Like all of Saitama's known feats by the Hero Association and I guess the public of like defeating like disaster level demons and dragons and things like that is just chalked up to it being done by King. So you get this unique relationship between King and Saitama where they represent like two sides of one coin, and that coin being like absolute power. Like on heads, you have King, which is, you know, which everybody sees as being absolute power. Then you have tails, which is Saitama, who literally is absolute power. So that goes back to stands being defined as personifications of one's life or spiritual energy whose abilities are given visual form. Let's look more into like the actual instances of Saitama pretty much behaving exactly as a stand and King being the stand user. So I talk about this in my King video, but I still think it's pretty fascinating that it's like revealed that when Beefcake and Vaccine Man were attacking, King was actually there. King just being in that vicinity, you know, vulnerable to being destroyed by one of these guys, Saitama just comes in and takes care of them for him. But even better scenarios than that, which goes back to me saying like Saitama like acting like a stand, is like when Garo tries to go after King, Saitama's right there next to him and just boots Garo before he can even hit King. And then of course we can't forget about Elder Centipede, like King just standing there, and then, you know, behind him Saitama comes in and gets the one punch on him. And like if you really want to do some mental gymnastics, you could say that Boros was defeated by Saitama because King was there. Like this is pretty much out of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, at least with how the stand dynamic works. Another little fun thing that we can look into here is the aspect that any damage the stand sustains results in the equivalent injury on the user's body and vice versa. Now you might be thinking, well, like King never took any damage. Well, that's because Saitama never did. So let's keep going because we can even explain how this relationship came to be. In most cases, stand users are either born with their stands or with the potential to unlock one later in life. For those born with it, the trigger for unlocking one stand varies with the user, but usually derived through intense mental strength. As such, the stand's abilities are typically unleashed during times of stress or conviction. So go back to the only instance in the series where King is even remotely damaged, and that's like the flashback that we get when he's slashed by Octopus Claw Man and he gets those marks on his face. Interestingly enough, it's Saitama who shows up and saves him from the Octopus Claw Man. Of course, this is Saitama still on his path to removing his limiter because he still has his hair and whatnot. But this is kind of like the standception moment. Unleashed during times of stress or conviction, you know, getting slashed brings forth Saitama. So let's have a little more fun because like now we can like name Saitama and give him abilities like if he was a stand. So like what would his stand name be? Well, it really depends because Araki has like different themes throughout like each part. Like sometimes like stands are just things in general in JoJo are named after tarot cards or Egyptian gods or like bands and songs and stuff like that. So if we wanted to go down the tarot card route, we can call him the Emperor, you know, the Emperor card. That's also a nice little juxtaposition between King, you know, and his stand being called the Emperor. If you want to go for like Egyptian gods, you can call him Ra. It wouldn't make sense, but it doesn't matter, I guess. But if you want to go for like songs or bands, Five Finger Death Punch, that's a band, and it also kind of makes sense for what Saitama is about. And I guess that brings us to like what his stand ability would be. So like in JoJo, the more powerful stands specifically have like crazy outrageous abilities. And Saitama being a stand would be right up there with them, but not so much in the time or reality warping ability aspect stuff. It'd be more just, he's just so powerful that he hits you once and you're done. Like that's pretty much the ability of Saitama the stand. If he punches you, you are either dead or defeated. And we can give some nuance to this ability because I just don't want to say that, like, you know, it's instantly guaranteed he'll kill anyone or defeat them with one single punch, you know, regardless of the character is coming from JoJo or whatever. But you could say that, like, if they're exceptionally strong, you know, like at the highest tier of power within the JoJo world, maybe it'll take like more effort because, you know, not even the characters within the One Punch Man world are all susceptible to just being defeated by one punch from Saitama. You know, for example, like Boros, you know, he took a couple punches from Saitama, but ultimately it was like the serious punch that took him down. So in exceptional, you know, outlying cases like that, maybe it'll take a little more effort to take down somebody with this ability or something. But aside from just like the punch, I guess we also have to give the stand like the other abilities that Saitama has, which is like, you know, ultra speed, ultra durability and reflexes and all that good stuff too. Because, you know, if he could only just, you know, hit you and that was it, then he could just be evaded all day. So he'd need some kind of, you know, contingency the way that he does, like in actuality. And you might be thinking, well, that's not very fair. That's a little too broken. And I say, well, I think it's just on par with like some of the other strongest abilities we've seen in JoJo pretty much. But that's pretty much it for this fun little video, guys. And of course, there are other instances of people fighting for King instead of Saitama. But if we want to clear that out with actual stand lore, we can go to this, where it says all those stands may take different forms or be split into several entities. No one is able to summon several stands at once, although exceptional circumstances may lead to someone wielding several stands, but only one will be the user's real stand, so take that. But let me know what you thought about this video, guys. If you liked it, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. I have a Patreon, Twitch. Check them out. Have a great day. See you in the next one.